What's going on, everybody? Let's see. Welcome to LTMB Live. Let the madness begin. I'm your co-host, Will Gaillard.
And I'm Mike White.
The other co-host in this.
Yep.
All right, let's bring Facebook on. What's going on,
What's
everybody?
up, Facebook?
Welcome to LTMB Live with Will Gaillard.
This is Mike.
How's everybody doing today?
Been a long time, feel like it.
That's right, man. That weekend, man. That 5-day gap that we got in between live shows. So, hope everybody's doing all right on this Tuesday, November the 7th. We got a lot to get to today. Let's see. Let me just put the camera. Okay, hold on a second. All right, looks good for Facebook right there. Okay, all right. Yeah, we got a lot to get to today. I appreciate everybody that came here for the show at this, this LTMB Live. We're trying to increase the audience of everybody that's in here. Like I said, we do appreciate that. If you don't mind liking and commenting and at the appropriate time calling in to, share your comments and your questions, and also sharing the video, especially on Facebook. So let's get into it. We have a lot to talk about. Like I said, we're going to be talking about Donna Brazile walking back her comments that she made in her book. We're going to be talking about the AUMF, which is the authorization for use of military force, and how there's been some renewed conversation about that. What else we have to talk about? We have to talk about
Texas.
Yeah.
The massacre.
Texas,
another massacre in Texas.
Yeah, we're going to start with that. We also have to talk about Rand Paul being attacked just recently. Also tax reform. There's been a lot of debate about that over the past 2 days, and the House Ways and Means Committee has been talking about that. But again, like Mike just brushed on, we're going to begin with another mass shooting in Texas, and this time it's in Sutherland Springs, Texas, which is about 40 miles southeast of San Antonio, Texas. So it was at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs, and apparently 26-year-old Devin Kelly, he went to the scene at early that morning, about 11 o'clock that morning, and he began shooting before he even got into the church. He was shooting outside the church. He walked in the back door, I believe, and started shooting. This left 26 people dead, 20 people injured. It came to an end when he left the church, and somebody that was there got their gun and started shooting at him. And they managed to hit him a couple times. He got into his vehicle and he raced off, and there was a chase. I believe a couple people chased after him, and he finally crashed some ways down the road, like 10 miles, something like that, I believe. Yeah. Down the road, he crashed his vehicle, and I don't know if it was before he crashed it or afterwards, but the investigators believe that he took his own life. He shot himself in the head, because there were two shots. One shot was in his abdomen and one was in his leg, and that apparently came from the person that was shooting at him, trying to stop the attack.
One of the church members.
Yeah, but then there was another wound to his head, which appeared to be self-inflicted. So the reason for this heinous crime, they're trying to piece that together, but he did have some ties to this church. His grandmother, actually his mother-in-law went to the church, but she wasn't there that day. But his grandmother-in-law was there at the church, and she was one of the people that he did kill in this attack. So it seems like it was a bit of like a revenge type thing. There was some bad blood between him and that side of the family, because he has a history of domestic abuse. Yes, he does.
So abusing his wife. He was convicted by court-martial.
Right. Yeah, he served in the Air Force.
Yeah. When he was in the Air Force, he had to go under court. He went under court-martial, and he got convicted for domestic abuse. And one thing about that is he was able to obtain a gun, even though he was convicted for domestic abuse.
Right.
And the reason why he was able to obtain a gun is because the Air Force forgot to enter, I guess, his information into the federal database, which would have made it harder or prevented him from buying or purchasing a firearm.
Right. And a little bit more about that case where he was convicted too. He entered into a plea agreement, and this happened in he was court-martialed in 2012 for aggravated assault. Now, there were other charges that were eventually dismissed because he did enter in that plea agreement, but of the charges that were originally filed against him, it was charges of pointing a loaded gun at his wife and his stepson. And he also shook his stepson so violently that there was fractures to his head, I believe, inside his skull.
So when we're talking about domestic abuse, it's across the board. It's like he has a history of violence. It's not just he was, you know, abusing his wife. He was abusing everybody in his vicinity.
Right, no doubt. But yeah, like you said, they're looking into why the Air Force did not enter his conviction into the federal database, and you know, by not doing that, that did allow him to go to an official retailer of firearms and buy his weapon, and it was like an AR-15. You know, like it's not the military, like not the military version, but you know, it was AR-15 style weapon.
You know, I don't want to be pessimistic about, you know, the Air Force not entering him into the database, but if you think about if they did, how would that look on them? If the military, or if the Air Force would have, I guess, put him in the database, like that would affect like how they, I guess come across in regards to statistics as far as people who are abusive in the military. I'm not saying they didn't put it in on purpose, but it's just kind of surprising that they didn't, and maybe there's a reason why they didn't. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know.
It's no different. It's kind of like how they don't like to report on like sexual harassment and rape in the military. So if they don't like to report on that, why would they report on this? You know what I'm saying?
Now, after he was court-martialed, he was sentenced to a year of confinement. Now, after that, he was dishonorably discharged in 2014. So again, the Air Force did not enter that conviction in. You can speculate about why. Was it just something that fell through the cracks? Was it something that they did purposely?
See, to me, it doesn't make any sense why they wouldn't, considering he's going to be inserted back into the general population. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I don't know, man. Like I said, investigation is underway. You know, especially into the Air Force. Now again, we did talk about how there was 26 people that were killed. The pastor of the church was not there. He was traveling at the time. His name is Frank Pomeroy. But the guest pastor, a guy by the name of Brian Holcomb, 8 members of his family were killed in this attack, including his wife named Carla. That is beyond sad, beyond devastating, to lose 8 members of one family in one event. I can't even imagine something like that. It's horrific. But again, we have, you know, like I said, another mass shooting that, you know, produces debate about guns, and you know how as a country we deal with guns in the country.
Produces debate, but no one wants to talk about any kind of resolutions, though.
No. Nobody wants to talk about any kind of resolutions. Even, of course, President Trump had things to say about this, and of course he conveyed his feelings, his contempt for the shooter, his grief for the situation overall. But he did say that it was, quote, a little bit soon to talk about guns, to talk about any kind of policy about gun reform or anything like that. A little bit soon.
That seems like a bit of a switch, considering his reaction after the New York attacks.
Yeah, you can kind of compare those situations and how he was quick to talk about
more people got killed. In this situation,
more people got killed.
But do you know what else he was quick to talk about? Mental health.
Oh yeah, he put it on mental health. Yeah, that this was a mental health situation. It wasn't really about the guns. It was about the mental health of this individual. And yeah, we can talk about this because obviously this was was he a crazy dude? Was he like officially crazy, or was he just an evil guy? Whatever. I think there was not enough information at
at that time for him to make it about mental health yet. Like, what, that he can't, this guy can't be crazy.
It's a broad.
When I say
term
crazy, this guy just can't be crazy violent, not like crazy mentally.
That's
like,
what I'm saying. Like,
you know
you can
saying?
use mental health and just say that this dude was evil mentally.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But because that's a very broad term to use. But to say that, he's kind of suggesting that this dude was crazy.
Yeah,
like he needed.
He wasn't just a bad dude.
Yeah, and there are bad people. You know, they're bad people.
But my thing is, if he really was concerned about mental health, right? Then like, why did they, why did he go back and try to, I guess, repeal Obama's gun check rule? You know what I'm saying? Which made it harder for people who have mental illnesses to buy and purchase firearms. If it was really about mental health, wouldn't you prevent people who have mental health issues from buying firearms?
Seems like it's just empty talk.
Yeah, because I mean, like, why would you gut such a policy?
If you were really interested,
and why, again, in his continuous attempts to gut the Affordable Care Act would definitely have some ramifications in regard to people having access to care, mental health care too. So I know they don't. It doesn't go together. Like I said, it's just empty talk. It's just talk to appease his base. That's all it is. It's talk to appease his base and say that the problem is not guns per se. No, it's not guns. It's something else. We need to do something else. But my actions previously don't support. Okay,
my words.
It's like the guns don't kill people. People kill people. Well, dang, but this is a people problem.
Yeah. Again,
so if you take care of that, I think that would be a good first step.
But we have leaders that
take care of the
don't
people
want to address the problem though. It's look, we've talked about this. Like, this carnage is acceptable if they can do nothing about guns. If they're able to just say we're gonna pray for the victims, we need to come up with solutions, but we don't need to touch the Second Amendment. We don't need to make any changes in law and make it harder for Americans to buy guns, ban bump fire stocks. No, we don't want to do anything like that. All we're gonna do is use these empty words and, like I said, appease our base and especially appease the NRA by doing absolutely nothing.
There's this assumption that gun laws will affect the Second Amendment.
Well, you know what? We're gonna get to that. First, let me give you a quote. Another quote that Donald Trump said. He said, "If you did what you're suggesting." Okay, so let me provide a little bit of background for this. Let me back out. So he's in South Korea. President Trump is in South Korea, and he's going to be there for a few days. He just got there a few days ago, so actually he's going to be there for about maybe about 2 weeks, a little bit less than 2 weeks. And well, actually he's going to be in Asia for about 2 weeks, but he was in South Korea at the time. So he was being asked at a little press conference about if he was asked about extreme vetting as it relates to Americans obtaining weapons, and this is what he said. He said, "If you did what your suggestion, there would have been no difference 3 days ago, and you might not have had that very brave person who happened to have a gun or a rifle in his truck go out and shoot him and hit him and neutralize him." Now, he also said, "And I can only say this, if he didn't have a gun, instead of having 26 dead, you would have had hundreds more dead. So that's the way I feel about it. Not going to help."
Wait. Who, if he didn't have a gun?
The Good Samaritan.
It's not about the Good Samaritan having the gun, though. Like, it's not about that.
But he's making it about that. He's saying that if you implement provisions, if you implement different measures to make it harder for Americans to obtain guns, then the Good Samaritan, whose name is Stephen Williford, he's the guy. He's been named. He's the guy that did end up shooting Kelly. It would make it so that people like him do not have a weapon.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit. That's some fear mongering. That's fear mongering. Brought in part to you by brought in part to you by the NRA
and hyperbole. Hundreds more dead.
Hundreds more dead.
Hundreds more dead.
But sensible gun laws wouldn't affect most people from owning guns.
No. And and we're gonna continue down this line too. The Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. This is what he had to say. All I can say is, you know, in Texas, at least we have the opportunity to have concealed carry. And so, if it's a place where somebody has the ability to carry, there's always the opportunity that gunman will be taken out before he has the opportunity to kill very many people.
I think he killed very many people.
He already killed me. Yeah,
he killed very many.
So in Texas, they have concealed carry, which the Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is saying that good thing we have it here. But he's saying good thing we have it here so that a good Samaritan with a gun, a good guy with a gun, can take out somebody before they can really cause too much damage. Kelly killed 26 people. He killed 26 people with your concealed carry already in place in Texas.
I wonder how the family feels about that statement. It's, man, gosh, man.
We're lucky we got
this, you know, without hundreds killed. Only 26?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a good situation, right?
They ought to be, like, thanking their lucky stars. Again, the conversation is not about, like, concealed carry. Like, I'm fine with concealed carry. That's not the issue. The issue is not, like, whether people can be heroes in certain situations. There's no argument that those situations could possibly result in somebody stepping up. No one is arguing that. Why are they making it why are they changing the argument?
Okay, here we go. We're changing the argument once again. Here comes Tommy Loren. You know Tommy Loren.
You know what? We're supposed to ban her or ban any mention of her from this show. Man. And then you call her by her name. You call you don't like to call her by her name. You can call anything except for by her name. Teriyaki lentils.
I want people to know exactly who we're talking about.
Toby lemonade.
See, I don't want to be like, nah. I want people to know exactly who we're talking about. Tommy Loren. What'd you say?
Teriyaki
lentils. Yeah. Okay. So this is her tweet, which after the attack a couple days ago. Didn't hear liberals asking for a truck ban after last week's terror attack, yet they think stripping away our gun rights is the answer now. So she's playing a very interesting game, and it's called the straw man game, right? So she's saying that in the the truck attack in New York, you didn't have anybody saying let's ban trucks. So in this attack right now, why are people saying ban guns? Now, first of all, nobody reasonable is saying let's ban guns. Nobody is saying that. The conversation is always let's treat the situation as a responsible society. So
since she brought up trucks, that's a vehicle, right?
That's a vehicle, and it can be regulated, right?
It is regulated.
It is regulated. So why not regulate guns? Now look, if you want to, like you were saying before, you want to have a concealed carry permit, you want to own a weapon, okay. Under our Constitution, you can say that, yeah, you have the right to do that. But it doesn't say that that right should not be regulated, like you just said about the trucks. So what if, because like you said, Trump just talked about how mental health is a serious problem, and he attributed mental health to this guy, Devin Kelly. So if mental health is such a serious problem, how do we combat that? One, it wouldn't be to remove that, that regulation that Obama put in place, right? But another thing is, why don't we do, let's say, mandatory mental capacity testing? Like, we'll have to examine individuals. Every individual with a gun will have to go through an exam routinely.
You mean like people do when they apply for a driver's license?
Yeah.
They want to see if they're proficient, and capable.
Like some kind of testing, right?
A test.
Yeah. What about like training to operate this weapon, to make sure that you're proficient? Not only just operational testing, but testing your dexterity as well. Make sure that you can actually hit the target that you're meaning to hit.
You know what's funny about that? Like, and this is something that has kind of occurred in high school. They brought it down to high school to prepare people to drive vehicles. If we really care about guns and gun rights and having an affinity for guns, if we really care about that, wouldn't we kind of welcome these kind of different measures that teach us to use guns better? You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't you welcome that the same way we welcome, you know, driver training?
And people would kind of. Wouldn't people kind of feel like that was like a badge of honor?
It would, like, yo,
like
I passed my test.
Yeah,
I'll pass the test.
Like when you pass the bar to get your to be able to practice law, isn't that a proud moment? Yeah, right. So if you're able to obtain, nobody's saying that you can't obtain a gun, but let's treat this situation seriously as a nation. There need to be certain regulations in place. Not everybody should have a weapon. Sorry, that's the reality of the situation. Not everybody should have a weapon. We see how even police officers use their weapons very dangerously, right?
And they're trained.
And they're trained. They have to go to routine testing. But a regular civilian, it should just be open season. Yeah,
when they join the force, they have to qualify as far as like weapons use. You know what I'm saying? They have to go to a police academy. They have to go to a police academy.
Yeah.
So before they can even go on the street, before they can even put on a uniform and do a specific job, they have to pass certain tests. Now, why is that true for a police officer who's that's their job, but not true for a civilian, an average citizen?
Yep. It doesn't make sense. I've said this before too, that at one point in the past, I had to take a test to receive my insurance license to be able to sell insurance. That process was harder than the process to obtain a weapon. Sell insurance, own a weapon that can readily kill other people. That doesn't match.
I think a lot of people have this fear. They've constructed these scenarios of Armageddon, police state. They want it to look. They want it to. They think it looks a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. They think it looks like Humvees driving down the street. They think it's like drones are going to be flying everywhere. You can't do anything.
Get your guns.
It's going to. Or all our guns are going to be gone. So they already have this image of what like this kind of Armageddon or kind of a police state's going to be.
Right. And
I think they're sold that because it's already here. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like they're willing to let you have your guns if they take everything else away. So I'm saying they're going to convince you that all you need is your guns to fight the government, but they're stripping everything else away for you to be able to fight the same government that has been usurped and that has been taken over by
they've been taken over for years now. You know what? And nobody has strapped up.
Exactly, and that's bullshit.
Nobody has strapped up.
If you're not strapped up now to go after the government, like what are you waiting for? Are you going to strap up when they start taking the guns? If that's the case, and for anybody who thinks so, I would love to know like how that's going to occur. I don't think a lot of people have kind of taken that hypothetical situation and I guess laid it out.
Yeah, played it out
exactly how it would happen. Yeah. Because in order for that to happen, that would mean your uncles and your aunts, your brothers, your cousins, they would have to take your guns away. That's the only way it's going to happen. Because the only way they would do it is to use law enforcement. Because like I said, Nancy Pelosi is not knocking on your door to come take your guns. No. Chuck Schumer is not knocking on your door to come take your guns. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my thing is going to be, it has to be police officers and military personnel who just happen to be Americans too, and just happen to be family members of the people who own guns. So actually,
and are proud of their gun rights.
Proud of their gun rights. So in order for that scenario to happen, that would mean Americans would have to take guns from other Americans, and Americans would have to take their own guns. It doesn't make any sense.
Unrealistic.
It's unrealistic. So you're constantly waiting for this doomsday guns getting taken away scenario to happen, while all this other stuff is preventing you from engaging your government, but you don't care about that as long as you have your guns.
Last quote we want to talk about is the Speaker of the House, Representative Paul Ryan. This is what he had to say after the incident. He said, "How about enforcing the laws we've got on the books? This man should not have gotten a gun. You know why? Because he was a domestic abuser." Now, that deals with the whole Air Force situation, how they failed to enter his conviction into the federal database. But Mr. Ryan, Paul Ryan is full of shit. He's lying to you. Now, if that conviction was entered into the federal database, would he have been able to go to an official retailer and get a weapon? No, he would have been prevented to do so. But here in America, we don't have universal background checks. That means private sales, you're able to bypass background checks. So this guy, Kelly, could have went to any private seller. He could have went to a gun show. Gun shows are all over the country, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
And he could have obtained a weapon. Now, there are some states, there not many, but there are some states that have implemented universal background checks. And that means, like I said, at an official retailer or private sale, universal background checks. Texas is not one of those states. So again, if he really wanted a weapon, he could have found a way to get a weapon. Ryan is lying.
So no matter where we turn, no matter where we go in this conversation, it's always going to go back to, we don't want to affect law-abiding citizens, or no matter how bad the situation ended up being, there's nothing that any laws could have done to prevent it.
Yeah. I mean, but think about the hypocrisy of that statement. Like, think about the irrationality of that statement.
Basically, you're saying that, no, they're basically admitting that we need more laws.
We need, yeah. I mean, like, if you say mental health is a problem, you say that this guy shouldn't have been afforded the opportunity to get a weapon, then why are you not for universal background checks? Because he could have got one in a private sale. You should close up that loophole if you were actually serious about protecting American people from mass shootings like these. But you're not. Like I said, this is acceptable carnage that you won't do anything about if that means supporting the NRA's wishes, if that means looking good and strong as it concerns the Second Amendment to your loyal base. They don't want to do anything. They're not going to do anything.
But I still think there's not even a Second Amendment issue. That's the problem.
No, of course
they're making it a Second Amendment.
Of course, issue. They have their own narrative that they drive every single time one of these situations pops off. It's not about the Second Amendment. It's about what are we going to do as a responsible country. They don't want to be responsible. Like I said, the carnage is acceptable.
It's kind of like they're just like using the Second Amendment as a roadblock.
All right, so that's our first story in Facebook. Thank you for being here. But we're going to continue this show over on YouTube. If you would, hit that link, and that will take you to the rest of the show. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you over there. All right. So over the past, since last week, actually, since the details of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act has been released, there have been a lot of conversation about it.
Say that again. The what?
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act.
Okay.
But it could have been the Cut Act.
That's a clever name.
If Donald Trump had his way, it would have been the Cut Act. Which is funny. But anyway, like I said, there's been a lot of debate, a lot of conversation about this tax cut and what it actually will do. Of course, the Republicans and Donald Trump are saying that it's going to be a huge tax cut, even bigger than what Ronald Reagan implemented when he was the president. And that, like, that's a good thing.
Yeah, I'm like, you're saying that, like...
I know. Like, it's just... It's not accepting reality because Ronald Reagan had to eventually go back and raise taxes multiple times because of that mistake that he made. But they don't want to deal with that.
And he tried to push it by saying, I think he said, like, deficits don't matter.
Yeah.
He said deficits don't matter. Oh, they matter because he had to raise them taxes again.
Exactly. But anyway, okay, so in the House Ways and Means Committee, they've been holding these discussions, and they've been talking about this proposed tax legislation, and we've talked about it a number of times and how it's a massive corporate giveaway. It's actually not going to help middle class families. It's not going to help poor people. I'm sure there will be some people in the country that are benefiting from this tax legislation. There will be some. But as a whole, no, it will not help. It's only going to widen that income disparity that we have in America, and it's only going to do wonders for the wealthy and for corporations. Among other things, this proposed tax legislation is going to repeal the adoption tax or the adoption credit. So what the adoption tax credit does is it helps people that, I mean, of course, it helps people that go ahead and adopt children in the United States.
And then it promotes adoption too.
Of course it promotes adoption. So this tax benefit goes up to about $13,570. It's a one-time tax credit. Now, adoptions in America can range from $25,000 to about $40,000 for most families. So again, this is a very significant tax credit for people, and a lot of people that adopt children are in that middle class.
It's not like,
so you're going to be taking away a tax credit like this from middle class families, and again, like you're saying, you're going to discourage families from adopting kids that need families. This is supposed to elevate the middle class somehow?
Because obviously those individuals that are doing the honorable thing by taking on children that are not theirs, they don't need a break. They don't need a tax credit. It's those people who, have to, they come on hard times, and when they have to buy yachts and Lamborghinis. You know what I'm saying? Those are hard times. So those are the people that need the tax credits. Those are the people that need the break.
But see, maybe we're looking at this the wrong way, man, because maybe it's just shifting the burden to the wealthy. The wealthy will pick up that responsibility. Like the extreme wealthy class, the 0.1% of people, they're going to be the ones adopting all these poor kids, these people in need, these kids in need.
Oh, that's the plan.
Yeah.
Oh,
of course they will, because wealthy people are they're extremely I guess they want to give their money away. Like, let's go help this poor child out. Let's go down to the government. Look, come on, let's get a poor child, poor black kid, something like that.
Take them off the street.
Yeah, man. There's a need. Like I said, they like to give their money away, right? Anyway, but yesterday there was a really good well, it wasn't an exchange. It was pretty much a statement from one of the representatives on the Ways and Means Committee. And he's Representative Brian Higgins, a Democrat from New York, I think believes the 26th district. But he mentioned several things that highlights why exactly this Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is a horrible idea and just a huge giveaway for the wealthy and for corporations. So he mentioned that the tax rate, the corporate tax rate, is going to go from 35 to 20%. But he mentioned, like we did earlier on, that corporations do not pay 35%. Like Donald Trump says it, Republicans say it all the time, that like this 35% tax rate is just too damn high, and it disables these corporations from competing in a global economy
and creating jobs.
But corporations do not pay $35% on their taxes. The effective tax rate is about 18.6%, and Brian Higgins repeated that stat.
And then what happens once all the loopholes kick in?
So he also talked about how there are many corporations that pay between 0 and 10% in taxes, but there are also many corporations that pay 0. They have a negative tax burden, and they get a rebate. Corporations like Wells Fargo, corporations like Walmart, these are companies that
Amazon.
have no taxes. They pay no taxes. Actually, they pay negative taxes. But we're supposed to believe that these are the they need this tax break when they're not even paying taxes. Like, that makes no sense.
And if the goal is to for them to create jobs,
yes,
but they can do that now because it's already shown that they have money laying around.
They do.
They have billions of dollars laying around.
They have billions of dollars here, and they have trillions of dollars overseas that they don't want to bring back unless they get a great deal.
So if they're not like expanding to create jobs now, what makes these politicians that are pushing this tax reform bill think that that's going to happen this time? And it's never happened.
They don't believe
it's never happened.
It's never happened.
It's never happened.
And Brian Higgins again correctly stated that the intention of this act is, like we were just talking about, is to promote job growth. So you give this, you relieve the tax burden from these corporations, and he was saying that it will enable corporations to raise annual wages of households by about $4,000 to $9,000. But he was saying if you actually wanted to provide relief for American households, middle class and poor people, why don't you just directly give that tax relief to the individual instead of going through corporations? Because are we seriously to believe that corporations are going to take this money and say, hey,
let's invest it in our staff, let's invest it in our workers,
let's raise wages, when they're not being forced to? They're not being forced to. And you know how Congress feels about raising the minimum wage. So you're just taking them, like, you're just like applying this onto them and saying that they haven't said that they will raise wages, but with all this extra money, what else are they going to do? You know, buy back stock,
it doesn't,
pay their top level executives. What, I mean, come on.
It doesn't make any sense because, you know, tax breaks don't create demand.
No.
Tax breaks don't create demand for services and demand for products. So if there's no demand for services and products, you don't have any new jobs. But what will create demand for services and products is people having money.
That's right. So to be specific, tax breaks for corporations don't create demand, but tax breaks for the middle class people more money
in their hands actually creates the demand, because they're gonna want to spend that money.
No doubt.
If they're trying to spend that money, they're creating demand for goods and services, therefore creating a need for more jobs, because you're going to need more jobs if there's more services that need to be provided. If there's more products that need to be manufactured, then there's a need for more jobs. You create the job market.
Mm-hmm. Now, see, we understand that. It seems pretty simple to understand, but apparently a lot of these Republican senators and these representatives, they just can't get it.
They get it. No, don't put that on them. Don't put that on them. They get it. You know they get it.
Now, Ted Cruz, interestingly enough, Ted Cruz is somebody that it appears that he is not in favor of this legislation. And this is what he said. This is part of his comment. He said, there are some taxpayers who are losing exemptions, particularly in some high-tax states like New York or California, that could conceivably be paying higher taxes. I think that is a mistake. I think tax reform needs to cut taxes for everybody. Now, on the surface, you would think, well, hey, this is a very sensible statement from Ted Cruz, because he's absolutely right. Middle-class people are going to be losing some deductions that is going to make their tax burden even higher. But the rich and corporations, all those loopholes that enable them to have a 0% tax burden, like those loopholes are going to stay exactly where they are. So instead of that effective rate being 18.6% for these corporations, I mean,
he's making it.
I mean, that might go down into the single digits, right?
Yeah, it might go down into single digits, and he's making it sound like, I guess a balanced tax policy.
It sounds like a very reasonable statement.
But we all know it's not going to affect middle class people in the same way that it affects rich people.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No, it won't.
And if you're already, if the uber wealthy are already getting the favors, and they're already like, basically the favors they get outweigh the favors that middle class gets, meeting in the middle is still going to mean that they're getting more benefits. You know what I'm saying?
You need to do more for the middle class, and that's I mean, come on, that's just
If it's already skewed to one side,
logic,
don't say meet in the middle as if it's going to solve anything.
But again, still on the surface, it looks like a pretty reasonable statement. But if you know anything about Ted Cruz is the one that wants, in this tax proposal, he wants to say, he wants to make it so that the individual mandate in the ACA, Obamacare, he wants that gone. So again, that will free up over, I believe, I think we talked about this last show, about $400 billion. Of course he doesn't want to pay that money anymore. That can go to the government. That can fund things like toys for the military, corporate welfare. I mean, that can fund a lot of things. It's not going to go to the middle class because, of course, it's going to the middle class right now. It's going to the middle class to help pay for health care. And he's saying that, nah, we don't want that. We don't want to help the middle class. But in this empty statement that I'm going to give you about this proposed tax legislation, yeah, count me in as helping the middle class.
We're talking about Cruz here. But it's funny how they're like being so blatant when the facts present themselves. You know what I'm saying?
I know. It's crazy. Now, in a loosely related story, it may be hard. Well, it's going to be hard enough to pass this tax legislation because of what it's going to add to the deficit. We talked about how it's going to add trillions to the deficit, I believe, over 10 years.
Over 10 years, and then add more after that 10-year period.
Right. And because of that, they will have to get 60 votes instead of 50. So if they have to get 60 votes, that means that some Democrats are going to have to come on board. And as it appears right now, none of the Democrats are saying that they're going to come on board on this.
Because Nancy Pelosi right now, she is out there campaigning against this.
Yep. I saw her and Chuck Schumer talking about this last week too. So yeah, the Democrats are not.
So
on
if the
board.
leadership is not on board, no.
Yeah. No. So again, in a loosely related story, Rand Paul appears like he is not going to be there for a while. He's not going to be in Congress for a while because apparently last week on Friday, the man was attacked. The senator from Kentucky was attacked. So as the situation goes, it seems like Rand Paul was chilling at home. He was in his yard. I believe it was his front yard, cutting grass. He was just mowing the lawn, just cutting the grass, just like any other person does. On a day. Got to take care of the landscape, right? Well, out of nowhere, this linebacker comes and blindsides him, tackles him to the ground. Now, after that, it was kind of downplayed the result of his injuries, but actually he suffered pretty extensive injuries. So his chief political strategist, Doug Stafford, said that Paul suffered 5 rib fractures, including 3 displaced fractures where the bones went out of alignment from their typical position. The attack also resulted in contusions. So the attacker, his name is Reen Boucher. And he's his neighbor. He's his next door neighbor. He's Rand Paul's next door neighbor, and he's a fellow medical doctor. There is really not too much word about what preempted the attack, but I believe it was this same guy, his chief political strategist, that said it was like some trivial nonsense. Something apparently about landscaping.
Yeah, I think it was just like typical gated
branches somewhere.
It was basically typical gated community beef. You know what I'm saying? It's typical that's all I know from it. It's just typical gated community beef.
How
it escalates to the point where a mug wants
tackled.
To be like Brian Urlacher.
That's what I'm saying. He came at him like Lawrence Taylor or something, man. I don't understand, but
my thing is
briefly worked together. They briefly worked together at a interventional pain specialist, which is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So they know each other. Again, he's his next door neighbor. It just seems odd that some beef over landscaping could escalate to.
There's got to be
Lawrence
something
Taylor
else. There's got to be
going in for a sack.
There's got to be something else behind.
You know what I want to know, man? I want to know if this guy Reen Boucher, does he have a wife?
No. I was about to say. I'm telling you. There's something.
Does he have a wife?
This ain't about grass. This ain't about bushes. This ain't about branches. This ain't about limbs. This ain't about whatever. Like your car is too bright. You part, you know what I'm saying?
I
like for there to be this amount of emotion, and for him to cause this kind of injury, there's something going on. I'm thinking something else is going to come out.
And Boucher or Reem, I don't know how to say this dude's name. Reem Boucher. Anyway, he says that he attacked him, but he also said in a statement, I believe, he said that he hoped that the two men could get back to being neighbors as quickly as possible. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. Like this dude is gonna be laid up for a while. Rand Paul is gonna be laid up for a while because of these significant injuries. So it wasn't just like he threw a pine cone at him or something, like man, I told you to cut those branches, man. Don't be having those branches hanging over my fence.
Yeah, no. Again, if it's typical neighbor disputes, then usually, even if it's one neighbor trolling the other neighbor, they're gonna troll like in innocent ways. This is try to get under their skin. It's not going to result in like a physical attack.
Yeah. There's an article in the New York Times that is citing 3 Republicans in Kentucky that are saying that it has something to do with unraked leaves, stray yard clippings.
What, on whose side though? Paul's side or his side?
I guess it would be Paul's side because this guy, his neighbor, is mad about it. So I guess there was some unraked leaves that were blown onto his property or something. I don't know. It sounds bullshit, man. It doesn't sound real. Like I said, I want to know if the neighbor has a wife. Does he have a wife? Does Rand Paul
maybe Rand Paul has been doing some other kind of landscaping.
That's what I'm
Maybe he was doing some other kind of landscaping.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Taking care of somebody else's property or something. Yeah?
Taking care of the lawn of somebody else. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know, man. I don't think the details are gonna come out. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But
he cutting the neighbor grass. That's what he was doing, cutting the neighbor grass.
All right, let's move on to Donna Brazile. So last week we talked about Donna Brazile's new book called Hacks.
And not talking about it's not talking about Hillary Clinton's continuous coughing throughout the campaign. Not talking about that.
Talking about hacks. Of course she's talking about the Russians, their efforts to put Donald Trump in the White House, to say it as simply as can be. But in the book we talked about how she revealed
emotionally and dramatically.
Yeah, and I say revealed in a very jokingly way because it wasn't a revelation, because we already knew the details that she put in the book. But she revealed how the Democratic primaries were in fact rigged, and that Hillary Clinton...
Wait. Did she use the word rigged?
She used the word rigged. Now, this is what we're going to get into, right? So we talked about that. We talked about how she said that, there was a rigging of the process, and she had this very emotional phone call with Bernie to let him know. But she said she found the cancer but wasn't killing the patient. We had to go home. We had to move forward because we couldn't let Donald Trump become president. But you did anyway. So she's trying to walk these comments back now, trying to do a full backtrack. So she was on Sunday, she was on ABC's This Week, and she said that she found, quote, no evidence of rigging of the Democratic primary. She found no evidence of it.
And you know who else seized on, her revelations? Trump seized on it, which I don't understand, like, how she didn't know that was going to happen.
Like, everybody's seizing on this opportunity.
And then of course she had, like, I guess he tweeted something, and then she had to tweet back. And it was like, I didn't say that.
Yeah,
I didn't say rigged.
Something.
Hashtag not what I said. I'm like, first of all, that's too long of a hashtag.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm like, you're just trying too hard.
But hold on, you did say that. You did say you did say that. You said that the DNC was taken over by the Hillary Clinton campaign, the headquarters in Brooklyn. Everything had to go through her headquarters in Brooklyn. So obviously, if Hillary Clinton has full control over the DNC, there's no way that this process, this Democratic primary process, could have been impartial, because it's not like Hillary Clinton would be like, well, you know, I have control of the DNC, but I'm going to run a very impartial process. Yeah, right. Nobody believes that. But it's like she has a problem with the word rigging. She was also on Tuesday morning, she was on ABC's The View, and she said she never used the word rigged in her book. She said she never even used the word rigged in her book. But there were multiple times she actually did say rigged. She said that she told Bernie she was going to find out, because she had her suspicions that the primary was rigged, and so she was going to do an investigation and find out if it had been rigged. Now, later on in, you know, the excerpts that were released, she said that she did in fact find the cancer being that the DNC entered into a deal with Hillary Clinton and her campaign to fund the day-to-day operations of the DNC, and in turn they would take over the DNC.
She had a problem. She also had a problem with the Victory Fund being started so soon.
Yeah, in August of 2015.
And so she even called Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
She sat down, you know, put on some gospel.
Yeah.
I remember what she said,
to
but
set the mood.
I don't know if she had
some.
I don't know if she had some wine, some tea, or I don't know. She had something, but like, she built it up as something that was very serious.
Yeah.
In a way that I guess would illustrate how the DNC kneecapped Bernie Sanders. That's why that was what that whole passage she was talking about, right? That's
exactly what she said in her. I mean, she put it in print now. It wasn't like this was some interview that wasn't recorded and she's saying now later that no, that's not what I said to the reporter. No, she put it in print in her own book.
So now she's trying to like stuff them worms back in the can.
Yep.
She's trying to stuff those slimy worms back in the can.
Put that genie right back in the bottom.
But I mean, but what does, I mean, even if she never used the word, it doesn't matter.
That's still what it is.
That's still what it is. Because it just means to manipulate something fraudulently to create a certain outcome.
And she expressed that in her book. She expressed how mortified she was that
no.
Hillary Clinton took control of the DNC.
I gasped.
Wait, what?
I gasped. Man, get out of here.
Yeah. It's just like she's trying to run away from the word rigged, but we all use what, like you said, manipulate the process. She's trying to backpedal like Deion Sanders, though. Yeah, man,
she's backpedaling like
the
DB,
best, right? Like the best of them. But we all know what happened, and she attested to this in her own book. You can't run away from the words that you used in your own book.
And see, all that was she was trying to cause a splash, right? I don't think it was just for her. It was for the Democratic Party. She was trying to offer some sort of like fake olive branch. Yeah. She was like offering some sort of empty reprisal to Bernie Sanders in order to appease I guess those Bernie Sanders voters who felt disenfranchised. But I think even her not walking it back, I still don't think when she first came out with these revelations, I still don't think people were buying it. Because
we already knew. One, we already knew. Two, this is over a year ago.
And she took part in it too.
Yes. And exactly. She took part in it, and she's only revealing it when she's trying to make money off the information.
That's kind of what it is. She's just trying to throw, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Hillary Clinton under the bus in order to sell some books.
But now she's trying to save them. I mean, she's trying to save them now.
See, I don't think she's trying to save them. I just think she's trying to save face for the Democratic Party.
Well, true. I agree with that. Yeah. She hasn't said anything like, she hasn't like made any statements that like, oh no, not. She did say that. She did on The View. I can't remember the exact words that she used, but she was calling her Hillary instead of like the Secretary of State or whatever, like the Secretary. She's like, because I know Hillary, I like her so much, blah, 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 blah. Like, man, this is a trip right here.
But I mean, I truly, well, you just really don't know what to believe. I mean, we already know that the process was manipulated.
We do.
We already know that in order to funnel Hillary Clinton into the presidency, which she did not win. I just don't buy it that it was just Hillary Clinton and Debbie Wasserman Schultz just taking control. You know what I'm saying?
Because
it's like, because that would mean everybody would have to pretty much have hands off.
But see, we know for a fact one other person that was involved, Donna Brazile.
Exactly.
So it was not just Hillary.
But my thing is,
DWS.
like, if like you don't, that's not something you just see after the fact. If she's talking about strong arm tactics. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't do that subtly. You can't hide that. So to act like it was something that couldn't have been seen, I can't believe that.
In the book, you remember we talked about how she said when she had to write a press release, she thought it was strange that it always had to go through Brooklyn.
So it's just strange.
Yeah, you said like inside the process of the rigging, you thought something was strange that it would have to go, like DNC business would have to go through Clinton campaign headquarters, and that just struck you as strange and nothing else.
She is politically intellectual enough. She has a high enough acumen as far as politics to have kind of seen that for what it was at the time.
But her explanation is,
you see what I'm saying?
Stupid,
like, she's not dumb,
but her explanation is
stupid because she's fibbing.
Yes,
she's fibbing,
lying really bad, man. But the pushback, like Donna Brazile is even pushing back on herself, but also Hillary supporters have pushed back on the words that she used in her own book. There was about 200 of them, over 200 of them, Clinton campaign staffers. They wrote a letter, and in this letter, they said that, quote, they do not recognize the campaign she portrays in the book. They also said, quote, it is particularly troubling and puzzling that she would seemingly buy into false Russian-fueled propaganda spread by both the Russians and our opponent about our candidate's health. Now, that's about, in the book, Donna Brazile said she kind of toyed with the idea of replacing Hillary Clinton as the Democratic nominee with Joe Biden. And this was after the 9/11 incident when she had passed out, when she had collapsed. And, that was on full, broadcast to everybody that saw that. But she was saying how because of the pneumonia that she had, she was thinking about making this replacement. Now, I don't understand how this is Russian propaganda, because coming from Hillary Clinton's campaign, they alleged they attested to the pneumonia that she had pneumonia. This was kind of like well documented. Yes. When she pretty much caught the Holy Ghost on the curb. Yes,
and she went to Chelsea's apartment,
right,
and then she came out like a new woman. I don't know what the hell they gave her.
But that's not Russian propaganda. How is that Russian propaganda? That's real.
Isn't that wait. Members of Hillary Clinton campaign,
the staffers,
yeah, are talking about Russian propaganda. I don't think anybody who was in the Hillary Clinton campaign or a staffer can call anybody out for Russian propaganda. That's funny. But actually, that's actually a pretty sensible consideration to make when somebody is like their health is failing, because the campaign trail is very stressful. That's actually a reasonable consideration to make. So they're trying to make something very ordinary and reasonable sound extraordinary. Because you know why? Because they don't have anything.
And again, her own campaign shared that she did in fact have pneumonia prior to that event. And
are they going to the Hillary victory refund is a fact?
It is.
The Hillary Victory Fund is a fact.
And it was a fact that the agreement was made in 2015. There's no Russian propaganda here. I mean, this isn't fake news. You're trying to sell it like it is, but it isn't. And again, going back to what you were saying about Donna Brazile, she is trying to help the Democratic Party. She has an affinity for the Democratic Party because she's long had connections to it. And like I said, she's just trying to
have her cake and eat it too.
She
wanted to sell the book, and she wanted to try to like offer some condolences to Bernie Sanders supporters and Bernie Sanders to try to get those voters. No. By just calling out the Democratic Party and maybe
for profit,
and maybe she was trying to create a situation where she could profit, you know, from selling, you know, some books, and maybe the Democratic Party could profit because, you know, those disgruntled voters are now, they feel like validated. But like I said, even when she first came out, I don't think they bought it anyway, because the only validation that would suffice is representation.
Now, not to say that this has anything to do with it, this Donna Brazile situation. But there's a new CNN poll out, and it looks at the approval rating of the Democratic Party, and it reveals that only 37% of Americans view the Democratic Party favorably. 37%. Again, I didn't record exactly when this poll was conducted, you know, the time frame it was conducted. And it probably didn't have to do with the book and her backtracking or anything like that. But this just gives you an idea of the perception of the Democratic Party across America. It's not good. It's not good. But I will say that the perception of the Republican Party is even worse. In the same poll, it revealed that 30% of Americans view the Republican Party in a favorable light. 30%. So the two parties, the two dominant parties, these two major corrupt parties, 30% and 37% respectively.
Is that's sad, but my thing is, like, it wasn't much higher during and before the election. So my thing, it's down from the Democratic Party is down from 44% earlier this year in March. And then for the Republican Party, it's down from 42% in March. Okay, then.
Oh, damn.
Okay, then. But why is it that people aren't gravitating towards third party?
You would think, right?
Like if you're so, like that's what just doesn't make sense to me. Like
so
it's not like you're so disillusioned with the party politics,
status quo.
You know, resulting in percentages like that. But you don't move on, and then you look at people who do move on as curmudgeons.
I know. Like, wouldn't it? Like, you're like, I know.
I thought you about to pound it.
No, I'm just saying, like, what is it gonna take if you have such an unfavorable perception of these two major parties? You're clearly not satisfied. What's it gonna take for you to actually make a move, actually vote differently?
It's crazy because, like, this election was seen as probably the most painstaking election for both sides, right? Yes. But it wasn't
against evil.
It wasn't painstaking enough to have an impact, or that much of an impact, on third party voting. It was like I forgot what the percentages were, but
Jill Stein couldn't even get 5%. Man. She got like 1.
I thought it was closer to 2. She only got like 1 point something.
I think it was like 1, man.
Oh man. So
I think it was anywhere near 2.
So if that dissatisfaction doesn't cause them to move over, then
so it's basically, I'm mad, I'm upset, I don't like the way American politics is being run, but that's what we got.
But see, that's the thing. Like,
we can't do anything.
There's no excuse. I mean, I wouldn't say there was never any excuses, but I just don't think there's an excuse now. There's not an excuse now. It's about to be 2018.
True.
Like, you have information at your fingertips.
Exactly.
People already went into this election understanding that they had an impossible choice to make. So,
but see, that was the reason why there was every reason for Jill Stein to get 5%, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Like this was the biggest opportunity to do that with a candidate like Hillary Clinton and somebody like Donald Trump. This was the biggest opportunity to get that done.
Actually, maybe that is actually what prevented it, because both sides were so scared of the other side that they had tunnel vision and only saw
and was
that,
like, we gotta stop this.
Yeah, we gotta stop that. So maybe that actually like, I guess, contributed to the fact that people didn't gravitate. I know that sounds weird,
but like if that's the case, then I mean it just will never change. If people activate that type of thinking, like nothing will ever change. You're always going to be dissatisfied with the state of American politics. If you don't actually change the way you vote, if you don't actually mandate that your candidates look a certain way, then they're always going to look the same way that they look right now. And money in politics will always be a thing of the present.
And you're going to still be mad. And the thing is, those people don't need to like be condescending or talk down to the people that seek to move on. But
they will.
You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm a little bit, you know.
Yeah, perturbed by it, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
To use a nice word.
Nice word.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
saying? Let's talk about the current administration. The Trump administration wants to, and you know what? Before I even stop me if you heard this before. Stop me if you've heard this before. The Trump administration wants to cut back regulations. Were you surprised?
Who? No.
Like a broken record, right?
Yeah, I know. We already know that. I mean, from the beginning, he wanted to roll back regulations on
like everything. On everything. So this time, the target is the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. Now, the Environmental Protection Agency is responsible for what?
Protecting the environment.
Putting measures in place to protect the environment.
Not only that is they're supposed to have scientists on the advisory board.
Yes.
To ensure that they are creating policy based on the data the scientists present to them.
No doubt. That's the norm.
That's what it's supposed to be.
Right. So recently, the EPA administrator, Scott Pruitt, he announced that there were going to be some changes, some massive changes to those boards that you were talking about, the EPA Scientific Advisory Board and the Clean Air Scientific Advisory Council, both of which advise the EPA on the science behind proposed regulations. So the EPA will no longer appoint scientists who receive grants from the agency.
But there's a but there. But because it said they'll be disqualified for serving on the board.
Yeah,
if they receive any grants. Right. But what are the grants for? The grants are to do what? What are the grants for? The grants are to do research.
Yeah, it's to do research.
So they can
research on the environment. Right?
Research on the environment that would give them data to present to Pruitt. So
you're giving the money to these scientists to help the board and the council.
Oh, I'm down for those government grants.
Yeah, me too.
But the funny thing about that is, do you know who's not disqualified? It does not. If a scientist, supposed science, I gotta put air quotes, takes money from foreign entities, or foreign governments, or corporations like ExxonMobil, fossil fuel companies.
Yeah.
They're not disqualified from serving on the advisory board.
They don't have a conflict of interest or anything. Protecting the environment, protecting corporations' money, no conflict of interest.
Yo, that is blatant hypocrisy.
It is. Also, Scott Pruitt announced that he's opting to replace every single member on these boards whose terms are expiring.
I wonder what kind of people he's gonna put on this board. Do you think he's gonna put people who have always been at odds with the EPA? Do you think he's gonna put people on this board that always have kind of had a lessened tone when it comes to pollution in the environment? Denied that there's pollution,
like these pollution skeptics, these deniers.
Pollution truthers. You don't think he's gonna put pollution truthers on
that? That's exactly what's expected. That's exactly what's expected. So there's a list out there of who's expected to be announced as appointees to these boards, and I believe it's a list of 17 people, and most of these people, like you said, are pollution truthers. these deniers of how pollution in the air actually impacts health.
It's not just pollution truthers. It's like they have flipped the table.
Yeah.
They have like flipped the table on what pollution means to society.
Right.
Like, it's not bad. They have actually presented it. Like, it's one thing to say, like, if I say, hey, I think these fossil fuel companies, they're not polluting as much as we say, or like, I think we can loosen this regulation because the pollution is not bad. Like the water is not bad. I can.
Yeah, it's a measure statement.
It's a measure statement. You know, it may not be true, but to just say like it's not as bad.
Yeah,
they like go into a completely different realm,
right?
By saying that it's good.
Yeah,
pollution.
They go the absolute opposite route, and they say that it's not a problem. Like the EPA, first of all, they made it into an Obama regulation thing. Like these people on these board, they've like the EPA has been capitulating to the Obama administration. But like the Clean Air Act that's been around since the 60s. Obama wasn't Obama, like, and that was a regulation that had bipartisan support, of course. Senate bipartisan support. It's like when you're talking about the environment, it's not something
that's going to affect a particular constituency.
Yeah, it's going to affect Republicans' air as much as going to affect Democrats' air. So of course this thing should have bipartisan support. But again, they haven't been proposed yet. But what's expected is that these individuals, they're going to be people that, like you said, are these deniers of pollution. They believe that excessive particulate is not linked to premature death, that young people and older people are not vulnerable to health risks. Like they're not at-risk people. Like they're not these at-risk groups that are going to be susceptible to poor air quality.
Yeah, one of the potential advisors, I think his name was Robert Phelan, said that modern air is a little too clean for optimum health. It's too clean for optimum health. Well, how can air be too clean? Well, how is air too clean? First off,
well, come on, man. Well, because as he goes on, he talks about how it needs to be a little dirtier.
Oh yeah, I can't remember his name, but there was one of these potential advisors that said something about like children, and pollution.
Yeah, they need to breathe.
They need to breathe it in because somehow it makes them stronger. It makes their lungs stronger. Make their lungs stronger. And I'm like,
There's also a guy named Michael Honeycutt. He's the director of toxicology at the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. Now, the EPA considers ozone a very harmful pollutant. This guy, Honeycutt, he believes that since most people spend about 90% of their days inside, that this is not a problem. It's not a dangerous problem at all, and that they won't be at risk to these higher layers of ozone exposure. Now, again, he says that most people spend 90% of their day inside. So if we're just talking, okay, let's just take him at his word. 90% of people spend most of the time inside. Okay. What about that 10%? You're saying that you don't give a shit about that 10% then?
Even if that was true.
Even if that was true.
That's callous.
10% of the people, you're like, well, they can be forgotten. You know, they can be exposed to these high levels of ozone exposure. They can be at risk to, you know, health problems and premature death. Well, 90% of the population is going to live. They're not going to experience any kind of dangers. Think about how callous that is.
Not only callous, it's like
he's wrong, but still, if we take his words, it's like, really, you're trying to make the case. Really, like this is the way you make your case by saying that you don't care about 10% of the population in America.
You got to remember, I don't think he is trying to make a good case. He's just trying to make any case. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. That's why they're stacking. That's why they're potentially or trying to stack this advisory board with fake scientists or fake authorities. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Like I said, and most of these people are either they've expressed long held views on being deniers of pollution and how it affects people, or they have they have connections, significant connections to the fossil fuel industry.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out where all those people that were talking about, all those people that always talk about, you know, like all these climate scientists are being paid off and taking money to present, climate change as being a reality. I wonder what those people have to say now about these potential advisors being looked at to be on a science board when they take money from fossil fuel industries.
Like, you don't see no conflict of interest at all. Really? These are going to be the people on the board making their case to the EPA on what the EPA should do for the environment.
But they're not going to be using actual science because they eliminated, they're trying to eliminate the people that will provide them the data that will allow them to make those good environmental decisions. But like we said, probably we've already kind of illustrated how that's not the aim, to make good environmental decisions. They're trying to keep data out of the public eye. You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to prevent data that they're trying to prevent data that would put them in odds with the facts.
Right. It's like they're trying to create their own data.
They're trying. Yeah, because they know
it's actually good.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Or it's not bad at all.
Yeah, I'm like, if you eliminate those people that are going to prevent or present that data, you know what I'm saying, it's going to look bad on you, and it's going to look bad on the people you serve. You know what I'm saying?
And these scientists, like these toxicologists and these epidemiologists, most of them assert that, air pollution is a real thing that affects people. Young people and older people, these are these at-risk populations. They are the ones that are going to be at risk for premature death and significant health concerns. But these people that may be getting onto these boards now, they don't have these concerns. They're saying that, again, and either the so-called pollution is good for people, or it's not a problem at all.
And I it's interesting if we're going to juxtapose all of these, particular policy aims of this administration. I think, the one that I think about in conjunction to this is healthcare. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying?
If you're gonna do this, right? How about you provide health care to everybody? Since you already
just fucking up the air,
exactly,
and fucking up the
rolling back regulations. Since you already doing corporations that, do exactly. You want them to be giant polluters of the environment. You don't care because this is all in the name of that almighty dollar. You could at least provide universal health coverage to every woman, man, and child.
But see, they're covered because I think in the renegotiating of the TPP, which is Trump doing, was Trump doing now. He's doing that now. It provides a cushion for corporations as far as like environmental regulations, so they're not going to be at fault even when they do pollute the environment, and even when they do affect people's health to where they need health care. They're not going to be at fault.
And you know what, this is on top of news today that makes it official. The United States of America, is the only country worldwide that is now not in the Paris Agreement. Syria is joining the Paris Climate Agreement. That was announced today. That makes the United States of America, the world's second largest emitter of pollution.
So we do the most.
Yeah.
Other than China.
But
first.
Actually, if you take a historical look, we're obviously number one because we got started long before China. So a historical look back at it, yes, we are the world's number one polluter. The number one polluter, going back decades, is not a part of the climate agreement.
Which is exceptional, Will. We gotta maintain our exceptional stance in the world. That's the way to do it. We got to set ourselves apart from the rest of the world because we are special and we're number one. All right.
All these other countries feel it is so imperative to actually do something about climate change, to actually get together as a globe and actually come to some kind of agreements. Like, okay, we're gonna limit our carbon footprint, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, to actually get together as a world to talk about climate change. And the US, again, the world's #1 historical polluter, is like, nah, I know we do the most dirt, but nah, we're out.
I mean, it makes sense because like the issue of climate change, like, it doesn't have, it's a borderless issue. It's a board, so we would have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You're saying
that's why it should be a world thing.
So we would have to coordinate.
Affects the whole world. Again, like these boards that we were talking about with the EPA, it's not just affecting Democrats or Republicans. And if you're talking about the Paris Climate Accord, it's not affecting just the US. It's not affecting just China or Australia or Niger or Greenland. I mean, it's global. It's global. And our dirt that we're doing affects everybody else. That's why it makes more sense than anybody that we're a part of these discussions.
The world doesn't already has a jaded perspective on the United States. It just seems as if we're trying to like make it a lot worse. You know what I'm saying? In
many different ways. Militarily, talking about the environment. I mean, like, I don't know, man. All right, let's stay with the Trump administration. So the AUMF, we last week we said we were going to talk about this, and the AUMF is the authorization for the use of military force. Now, this has renewed some talk about what this is, and actually what it is. It was passed on September 14th, 2001, just days after the 9/11 attacks on the World Trade Center and on the Pentagon, and you know, the one that went down in Pennsylvania. It was passed in the Senate 98-0, and in the House it was passed 420-1, with Congresswoman Barbara Lee being the lone dissenter. Now, what this was meant to do, its purpose was meant to go after those responsible for the 9/11 attacks. Okay, so to go after Bin Laden, you know, to go after
Al Qaeda,
yeah, to go after the people that were responsible for committing this heinous attack on American soil. That's what its sole purpose was for. But since then, Presidents George W. Bush, Obama, and now Trump have used it to fight different battles all across the globe. And what's interesting about these battles is that they have absolutely nothing to do with 9/11. This much to do with 9/11.
Like, I think they say like over half of them, way more than half, have zero to do with 9/11.
Nothing. But they just use this to do exactly what they want to do militarily without the approval of Congress to go to war. They use this to say that we can go anywhere we want to and wreck up some havoc. Yeah,
and it's almost like any country that has some sort of civil war, civil strife going on with rebels or whatever, now it's considered like a kind of a terrorist hotbed.
Right.
It's like they're just using different definitions for certain things that have always gone on. Right. And so I don't know.
So we're talking about military operations in at least 14 countries and 37 different situations, all not connected to 9/11. And again, all of this talk about the AUMF has just been stirred up again because of the attack in Niger, where the 4 American Green Berets were killed. So now there's been some talk about it, and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee has held some talks about it. So Senator Tim Kaine, yes, that Senator Tim Kaine, Hillary Clinton's former running mate, who was going to be the vice president, that Tim Kaine, I know that, you know, that kind of like it's like you're rubbing on an old wound, you know, that still hasn't healed yet.
Nobody remembers Tim Kaine.
But anyway, yeah, he's the senator from Virginia. Okay, this is what he had to say about it. They've used it now to go after dozens of organizations in many countries around the world in ways that I think are frankly completely unsupported by that authorization. We shouldn't be at war without a vote of Congress.
Oh, so their response of that, because I mean, because a lot of members of Congress had a issue with Najir because they didn't even know.
Didn't even know we were there. Like, don't know why we're there.
What was it? I could be wrong, but
like
800?
Yeah,
okay, 800 troops there. So
yeah.
basically, Congress is like, yo, y'all gotta let us know. Tillerson's response is, and Mattis is like, actually, you know, we should go forth in, like, we should make this going. We should make this way the way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we can eliminate you being mad about not being informed by just not informing you and making it, you know, ongoing. Like, what? That's the wrong approach. They were mad that they weren't informed about these military operations, and the response is, okay, well, let's write it into law,
right?
Like, that you don't have to know about it. That we can do whatever we want.
Yeah. So yeah, you're talking about Secretary of State Rex Tillerson.
Yeah.
And he remarked about how it's imperative for this to remain in place, and if it was repealed, that something else be put in its place that does the exact same thing. But he had no clue what that thing was, that you know what I'm saying, that new policy was. This is what he said. He said, and potential repeal of the 2001 AUMF without an immediate and appropriate replacement could raise questions about the domestic legal basis for the United States' full range of military activities against the Taliban, Al-Qaeda, and associated forces, including against ISIS, as well as our detention operations at Guantanamo Bay.
Basically, he doesn't want any kind of reevaluation of military action. He doesn't want any kind of reevaluation of military strategy. He wants it to
he wants to have free reign to do. He wants the president of the United States, currently that is Donald Trump, he wants him to have free reign to do exactly whatever the hell he wants to do without an approval of Congress.
But I mean, think about, it's an administration that's mired in scandal and
no doubt,
and you know, questionable advisory appointees. Like, giving, you know, allowing the military to go forth like this would be a gift to Trump.
Yeah, it would. But I mean, it's been a gift, like I said, since 9/11. It's been a gift to George W. Bush, Obama.
But I'm saying, especially, I think, especially this particular president, because of his kind of his own personal matters,
right,
that are currently going on right now, and with members of, or former members of his campaign, you know, with getting indicted and whatnot. So I think it'll serve him. You know what I'm saying?
And see, this should have really been brought up before. Of course, it should have been brought up before this. But even Rand Paul had something to say last year about the situation with Saudi Arabia and Yemen. And now there's an effort in Congress to say, look, either we have to declare war on Yemen or officially say that we're on the side of Saudi Arabia in this fight against Yemen. But see, that hasn't been done. So what Congress, like what Senator Tim Kaine is saying, that war has to go through Congress. Like, we have to approve war, and that is not the case right now. In so many different battles in these military operations globally, we have absolutely no say. We're over here supporting Saudi Arabia financially. We're refueling their planes. We're in the war. We just don't have an actual direct role in it. And all these other different places as well. Niger. We're engaged in battle all across the globe, but Congress has absolutely no say in it. The president can just authorize it like that because of the AUMF. And what Rex Tillerson is saying, that it is absolutely imperative that it stays, because we want the president to do exactly what he wants to do without having to hear anything from Congress.
I mean, right now our military already has tremendous power.
They do.
And influence. So
they do.
I guess, I mean, this seems like the next step to, you know, possibly our military like running everything. You know what I'm saying? Like our country being run by the military.
We essentially,
it's almost already there. It's almost already there. This kind of would like push us over the cliff.
Yeah, but I mean, like right now, it's almost like we have a dictatorship. The president can do exactly whatever he wants to do militarily without having to go through Congress. That's a scary situation, and it was all set up by this AUMF that was implemented after 9/11 that had a sole purpose. It wasn't to do all this other extra stuff. It wasn't to help us go into war with Iraq. It wasn't.
It was. You're like you're
not on the surface, man.
Yeah, you're talking
not on the surface.
You're not talking. You're talking from an objective disposition.
Yes,
you're talking
objectively.
You're talking from a person from the outside.
Yes,
in.
Yes.
When you're saying that this authorization wasn't meant to do that.
Oh, they had an idea, of course. But it was,
according to who?
Like they were like, "Oh snap! You know what? We can use this for a lot of stuff." Of course, they knew that. Of course they knew that, but that wasn't that.
You mean that's not how they were presenting?
That's not how they presented it.
But see, that's the whole thing, though. They were presenting it that way to make it acceptable. Even with them presenting it in that way, I think they knew already what they were going to do. They just knew they had to present it in that way to make it acceptable.
You know, what's interesting is why doesn't this decision get as much? Why isn't there as much controversy on this decision, on the AUMF, as there was on the Iraq war vote? You know what I'm saying? Because there's, going back in history, Bernie Sanders has talked a lot about, Hillary Clinton voted for the Iraq war.
There's a lot of
talk about that.
That's always been some sort of like kind of hot button issue.
Right. Like where was your moral compass at during this vote? Mm-hmm, but what about this AUMF? Like you said, if you were able to see in the Iraq situation, if you were able to see that President Bush was going to use that to actually go to war with Iraq before they were found guilty of having WMDs, then why isn't this vote under the same type of scrutiny?
It's not
Bernie Sanders was in Congress at this time too. He voted for it.
It's not under the same scrutiny because they don't care. They're complicit. That's a simple answer.
Both parties, party of war. Both parties. And like I said, Bernie Sanders voted for it.
I mean, and how much worse can it get? How much worse can it get? We have more terrorists. No, well, supposed terrorists. There's more terrorism than there was since 9/11. There's more. So obviously this strategy hasn't worked. And Trump's perspective is like he wants to go harder. He doesn't want to change the approach. He just wants to double and triple down. He's already increased drone strikes like tenfold. I mean, obviously at the
more
number, like the number, obviously he hasn't reached the same number as Obama, but the rate is like tenfold. So like, what do you think is going to happen within the next 4 years? If terrorism has gotten worse based on our approach and our strategy, then how do you think it's going to be in the next 4 years?
It seems like all these wars that we're fighting the war against terror, fighting the war on drugs, seems like you just exacerbate the situation.
But I think we've gone over this.
Yeah,
we've gone over this. These are not really wars that are meant to be won. You know what I'm saying? They're not wars meant to be won. They weren't meant to be won.
No, because people's livelihoods are impacted by these wars.
They hang in the balance.
Yes,
their jobs hang in the balance.
Yes,
it's kind of like remember we talked about what was that CNN Wolf Blitzer?
Yeah,
they were talking about contractors and stuff like
jobs.
that. That's the first thing he mentioned.
Yeah.
He didn't mention the impact on the countries that we go into. He didn't mention the impact of our military personnel. He didn't mention any kind of like, I guess what you would consider externalities.
No, he mentioned none of that.
All he said was, what about jobs?
What about these defense contractors? Talk about American jobs here. That should come second. Well, no, not even second. That should come way down the line. You should really be concerned with lives that are being destroyed and killed. But Wolf didn't care.
But they don't do that. Anytime you hear a member of Congress talk about any kind of like I guess taxes or any like jobs bill or any kind of budget, what do they say? They say jobs, 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 jobs. Or like when they're trying to give corporations a tax break. When states are trying to solicit companies to come in to their state, they talk about jobs. So everything is centered around jobs. You don't ever hear lives.
The true cost of war.
You know what I'm saying? You don't hear the true cost. You don't hear true cost on any of that stuff. You don't hear. You don't hear them say lives, or death.
What's interesting too, just a few days ago, I saw that Trump is considering putting North Korea on the terror sponsor list. Now, just think about that. Could Trump possibly use the AUMF to go after North Korea?
Especially if he considers them, a terror threat.
All right. Let's move on to. I'm not even sure how do I prepare the audience to see this. It's not funny. It's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. So there's an 11th grade teacher at a Georgia high school in Conyers, Georgia. The high school is named Rockdale Career Academy. It's about 30 miles outside of Atlanta, about to the east of Atlanta. Now, the teacher's name that we're going to be talking about is named, his name is Paul Hagen. Again, he's an 11th grade teacher, and we have a short video to show you. This was taken by somebody obviously in his class just recently, and it was put on Facebook by a mother of a student that was in the class. So let's play the video so you can see exactly what happened in this class, and then we'll talk about what happened. All right. So I know the audio wasn't great. So if you couldn't hear exactly what he said, I'll read it for you. He said, "You screw with me, you're going to be in big ass trouble. Don't smile at me. That's how people like you get shot. I got a bet. I bet by the time you're 21, somebody's going to put a bullet in your head, okay? And it might be me, the one who does it." Now, to provide some context to the situation, apparently the kids in the class were laughing, joking around, not paying attention to this teacher, Paul Hagen. So actually what happens at every single high school across the country, kids are goofing off, not paying attention to the teacher, and the teacher gets mad. But this time this teacher actually threatens to shoot the kid. You can't see the kid in the clip.
In the face.
Said, "I bet you by the time you're 21." First of all, by even suggesting that a kid is going to get shot, that's a no-no to begin with. But then to go forward and say that, and it might be me, the one who do it.
But I'm just trying to figure out how. Again, there's probably a lot we are missing. We are not in that classroom every day. We don't know, like, what is said to the teacher. We don't know.
No, we don't know.
But my thing is, even if the kid is behaving badly, even if they're in the wrong, I don't know how a person makes the leap to a simple, misbehavior and mischief equating to them being involved in violence later in life. Some kids are just mischievous, and some kids are annoying and they have a bad behavior and they're disrespectful, but it doesn't always equate to them being violent and, I guess, involving themselves in a violent lifestyle. So so why would he kind of take it there? And if you listen to his tone and his voice inflection, it really sounded like he was trying to be kind of hip. You know what I'm saying? He thought he was being cool or something.
Well, you could tell he was very mad.
You can tell he was mad, but he was trying to put sauce on his voice.
But see, this is the thing, man. Again, you're right. We don't know what goes on in this class from day to day. He's a physics teacher. This was a physics class. We don't know what goes on from day to day. We don't know who the kid was. Maybe this kid is not just merely a class clown. Maybe he actually disrupts the class every single day. Maybe he says some crass stuff to the teacher. Maybe he curses him out. Whatever the case, right? You have to understand that, one, you're a teacher. Now, you're going to deal with some challenging kids. We all went to high school. There were challenging kids in our high school. Now, of course, I don't know. This is 30 minutes outside of Atlanta. It doesn't sound like it's an inner city high school where, you know, you're going to see more disruptions and more behavior where teachers don't have a handle on the class. It doesn't sound like that's the situation. But again, no matter what the behavior of this kid is, as a teacher, you can't go there. You absolutely cannot go there to even bring up the shooting of a kid and to suggest that you may be the one to actually shoot this kid. You can't go there.
You know what? There was actually a way he could have incorporated kind of similar elements without going there.
How similar?
No. He could have said, like, he could have made this situation about his future. He could have been like, you're acting up in class now, son. You're acting up. Where are you going to be when you graduate? You see what I'm saying? He could have presented like that. You're going to end up in the street and you're going to end up getting killed by somebody because of your ad. Even though that would have been elite.
It would have been elite.
But what I'm saying is that he could have still had the same elements, but presented in a different way that would have actually made it, like, I guess, more acceptable in my opinion, because he could have said, like, you know what I'm saying, you either stay in this class now, or you either behave now, or you end up in the street later and may get shot.
But see, he wanted to make a point. He wanted to make a point. He wanted to go that far. And
that's what I'm saying. He's trying to act like a badass.
Yeah, he
just sounded like he was trying to act like a badass.
The director for strategy and innovation for the Rockdale County Public Schools is a woman named Cindy Ball, and in a statement she said, "We were made aware of the video Thursday afternoon and immediately launched an investigation into this personal matter, which is ongoing at this time." Now, first of all, this is not a personal matter. Second of all, what investigation do you have to launch where it doesn't immediately result in the firing of this teacher? You cannot have a teacher at a school talking about a kid being shot and then intimating that you may be the one to kill this kid.
See, again, I think that was the leap.
It was too far.
I think that was the leap. I think kind of the first angle of, I guess, his little scenario, he took it there, but I still think it didn't go over the edge. I think it went over the edge when he said that I'll be the one to do it. Yeah,
it might be me that does it.
It might be me. That just
yeah, that went way he definitely went off the cliff with his last statement. And the mother who posted this onto Facebook, her name is April Carr. And she put it on Facebook and she started a petition calling for this teacher's firing. Anything less than Paul Hagen being fired from his job will be unacceptable. You cannot have a teacher, again, I've said it I don't know how many times, but you cannot have a teacher promoting this type of violence in class to one of his students. You can't have this anywhere on the school grounds. I mean, this is more than just a bad look. Hold up. No audio. Oh, nobody saw it? Hold on.
So when y'all were saying no audio, was that on the video? Was that in regards to the video? When y'all weren't receiving any audio? Yeah. They can hear now.
Well, they can hear us, I believe. But
yeah,
they couldn't hear the... But why wouldn't they be able to hear the audio?
Yeah, I don't know.
We could hear the audio.
But at some point, there was multiple people on the stream that said they couldn't, so...
All right, let us know. Okay, yeah, it was the video, okay? All right, let me see.
So we're going to try to play the video over. It is bad quality. We can hear it.
Yeah. right.
But
right,
maybe because it was so low.
We're gonna do some testing. So all right, I'm gonna do some testing right here. So you can hear it?
I can hear it.
All right, let me see this. I see desktop audio is not, but that shouldn't be.
Did y'all hear that? Still nothing.
All right.
Well, basically, I mean,
well, I read the comments.
He read the comments. He basically said, you know, he's gonna, you know, possibly get shot in the head.
I read the comment, but yeah, he I still don't know exactly why videos and probably people that call in won't be heard by the audience.
Yeah, we never had that problem before.
Yeah, the settings are exactly what they should be. But yeah, we'll do some more tests and have this clean up by Thursday. But yeah, but again, yeah, this teacher is on administrative leave right now, and again, like I said, anything that does not result in this guy's firing will be absolutely unacceptable. It's already.
I mean,
Tuesday.
do you think he should? I mean, okay, if he gets fired, do you think he should be allowed to teach again, though? I mean, do you think he could? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, how strict do you think this should be?
He threatened to shoot somebody, man.
Okay, but again,
he threatened. I don't know how you come back. How do you come back from that? Seriously, as a teacher, you're supposed to be there educating kids.
So you can't. So wait a minute.
Making the environment safe too. Making the environment safe for kids to learn in.
Well, maybe shooting that kid in the face. No. So you saying he can't teach physics and threaten to shoot people in the face?
Nah. Who's gonna be okay with that? Seriously, who's gonna be okay with a teacher that had one point in time threatened to kill another student?
One point in time. Again, so you should he be barred from teaching?
Who's gonna be okay with hiring this dude as a teacher?
Well, I'm. Come on now.
Think about the uproar, man. You hired who?
Who? But see, do you think there's that much? I guess maybe people would find out later, but I'm not sure people are so on top of the new teacher hires at their school. You know what I'm saying? I don't think people are on top of it like that.
But see, the problem with this is making national news, though.
True, and maybe somebody might recognize him, but you know how.
But I don't think it's even gonna get to that, man. I think any school would be like, what if this actually got out? What if this got out? That we actually hired
somebody who said that. But I'm saying they can spin it any way they want to. Like I said,
and maybe there's embroiled in that kind of controversy.
Well, again, maybe there's some.
If they're hard up, maybe.
Again, but maybe there's some stuff about the situation we don't know. I know it was very aggressive. It's probably, you know.
Again, man, we all have been to high school. We have all seen those certain kids that are not interested in learning, that are just interested in disrupting the class, that shout out profanities all the time. We have seen these difficult kids in our own lives, right? Would it be acceptable for them to be threatened with being shot?
Yeah, no. I think like that's another question.
Yeah.
Obviously, to me, that's definitely not acceptable, and I wouldn't be surprised if they got fired. My next question is he rehirable? So he be banned entirely? If there's some disciplinary procedure that he has to like, you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure there's like there's levels to it. Yeah. So once I determine what like level of infraction it is,
I don't know if they had that on the, like. Hold on, let me see. Let me look at you threatened to shoot somebody. We don't have that here. We don't have any type of rehabilitation for you.
Again, that's the question. Should he be barred from teaching for life? I can't say yes, man. I really can't say yes. I can't say yes to that.
I'm gonna go with yeah. No. I'm gonna go that far.
Teaching everything, teaching anything.
Dog, I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy, though. I have absolutely no sympathy for somebody that threatened to shoot a teenager.
But in
school.
That's the thing. Like, what's his history? What's this teacher's history?
Yo, find another career, buddy.
What's the teacher's history?
Find another career, buddy. This ain't for you, man.
But I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about the actions of like a school district. I'm just saying, would he be rehireable? Now, he may not be rehireable to you, but is it likely he could possibly be rehired? That's all I'm saying. With the current system we have now,
is it possible? I have no idea. I think that's up for debate. That would have to do with the district, with the school. So I don't think that, like I said, I don't think there's anything on the books. It's like, okay, if you threaten a kid, you are absolutely banned. I don't think there's anything like that on the books. Like, are there bannable offenses?
So it's almost like it's basically how they go about with this is going to be subjective.
Yes.
And well, it obviously is, seeing as they haven't
done anything yet. Just placed them on administrative leave.
But again, if they place them, they place them on administrative leave, so they're trying to determine what they're going to do. What if they well, see, that's the thing. I think it would be kind of bad, and it would be not constructive at all to bring him back, because then he has to be in the same environment with the student.
Look, he ain't coming back.
That's what I'm saying. That's
he
what
ain't
I'm saying.
coming back.
He's not coming back to that school. But like I said, like,
he ain't coming back.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I don't know if I would just write him off completely as a teacher altogether for the rest of his life.
Write him off.
See, I can't do that. No, I can't do that.
Find a new career, buddy. Sorry,
I didn't say that. That's good advice.
But
that's good advice. But I'm just saying, I don't think that should bar him from teaching.
Think about I
think he should find a new career, but I don't think that should bar him
from your job. Think about if you stole money, embezzlement, right? How hard is it going to be for you to actually get another job handling money?
See, I don't know. See, I think like when you talk about embezzlement, like you got to find something equivalent. See, now if he would have like beat his head in with a brick, or like
I don't know,
smashed him up against the desk, or
think that's equivalent,
or kicked him in the jaw, it would have to be something. It would have to be something like.
But you see, the thing is, you're talking about kids, though, man. You're talking about minors. He threatened a minor.
He threatened a 16 or probably 16-year-old, 17-year-old.
He's a minor.
All right. All I'm saying is, I don't think that should bar him from getting a teaching job.
If he said, you know what, man, I'm gonna kick your teeth in, man, or maybe that is even too far.
See, no,
like, I'm gonna punch you, man. You keep talking, man. I'll punch you right in your chest.
I'll find the equivalent. Probably a better equivalent would be having sex with students. It's like an action, like something more of a distinct action, like having sex with students. You see what I'm saying? Like betraying a student's trust. Like when you're talking about embezzling money, you're actually talking about like betraying the trust of an institution. Like you're actually stealing money away from something. This is a case where this joker just stepped out of line.
Dog, he threatened to steal somebody's life. He threatened to steal somebody's life. You can't take that. You can't just take that just lightly, man. Nah.
I didn't say take it lightly. I'm just saying I don't think that should bar him teaching for life.
So you be comfortable with this teacher teaching your future kids?
I don't know.
Are you serious?
I don't know.
This man has lost his mind.
Man, I don't know. Because you know why I don't know? Because I don't know everything involved in the situation. I don't know him. Like
so
I said,
you think you need more context?
There may have been something wrong with that dude. Because like I said, he was just trying to.
Something wrong with what dude? Which dude?
The teacher.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying there's something wrong with him. Like.
And dog, you can frame this any way you want.
I just don't think that it would. So if he wants a job in 20 years. In 20 years, you think he shouldn't be able to get a job in 20 years?
In 20, see,
nah, no,
I don't know. I don't know.
So now you don't know.
You're saying 20 years. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a very, very long time. But for the immediate future?
Oh no, yeah, for the immediate. This is not about immediate. I'm saying going forth in the future, 10 years.
But see, even then, man, like, would somebody actually take a chance on this dude 20 years into the future? Like, they're gonna know about this. This is gonna. I mean, like, oh, hold on, you're the guy that did this. I don't know, man. Like I said, I think like there would have to be a real shortage of teachers for somebody to accept this dude.
True. I'm not saying he might get a job. Maybe he go to like the inner city.
Then he might actually shoot somebody.
Nah, see,
in the inner city.
Whoa, no, I'm just saying, like,
I'm saying there's more chance that you do it there than at this school, 30 minutes outside of Atlanta.
But you make it sound like it was actually like a realistic threat, like he was going to do it.
This dude was amped up, man. Who knows if he's who knows? This is what I'm saying. Who knows what mentality this dude has?
That's the point.
If
Who
he
knows?
is able to actually say the words, and it might be me to do it. This mug is unhinged, man. He don't need to be teaching
what's
kids.
Kind of like, what's kind of jumped out at me is this is the first time, like, well, you know what? This is the first time somebody recorded it.
Yeah.
Because my thing is, like, did the person who
there had to be something happen before.
Well, I'm saying, so the person who's recording it, is it just kind of like a knee-jerk reaction to situations popping off, or did he say something? There was nothing in there.
Right.
There was. I think if a situation with this teacher had happened before, there would have been some sort of, mention of that within the article. I read a couple of other articles too, and it didn't mention it. So what I'm saying is, like, what is the history of this teacher? Like, why would he just go off like that in that one moment if he had never had an incident like that? He looked like he was like, what, in his 40s, 50s?
Yeah, something.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so he probably been teaching for a while.
I don't know, man. He needs to go. That's all I know.
I think he needs to go too, but I'm just gonna not write him off for the next 10 to 20 years. That's all I'm saying.
Find another career, dog. That's what I'm saying, though.
But what if he doesn't want to find another career? So I'm just saying that's the option you have.
In 20 years, he can find something else, man.
No, I'm pretty sure if he wants to go back to teaching, maybe he wants to teach at a university.
Nah, man, teach online. Straight up.
Yo, dog, these online trolls are serious. He might want to. These online trolls are serious.
Might want to go find somebody.
If he can, yeah. If you're saying he's not adequate to deal with children in the classroom,
but he won't be having to deal with joking and laughing and disrupting the class, man. It'll be all online. He'll just have to manage conversation online. That's the. You know what? Yeah, he can still be a teacher. Online, don't have human interaction with these kids.
So you have backpedaling.
Yeah, nah, I ain't nah. I'm talking about no human interaction with these kids. You want to teach online? That's the perfect opportunity for you, man. University of Phoenix? Yeah, man. Send in your application, man. Not now though.
Kaplan.
The ride somewhere.
Southern.
But don't send the application like now. Like do that like
Southern Institute.
Like a year from now, something like that.
Daycare center.
You must be out your.
I just messing with you now. Babysitter?
Man,
you get babysitter?
Little kids are worse than big kids, man. Shoot. Oh man.
Can even dog sit? Puppy sit? Animals?
Look, I don't know the mentality of this dude, dog. I'm saying, if look, he might seriously shoot somebody, dog, for real. But Kevin said, I think he was more on the joking side. It didn't look like joking. It did not look like joking. He looked like he was dead. He was like you said, there was inflection in his voice. You didn't hear it, but still there was some inflection.
He was putting some flavor on it.
Yeah, he did put some flavor onto it. Like he put some into his commentary. Like where he wanted his point to get across that, look, I'm not playing with you kids, right? Look, I'm tough. I'll shoot you right in the face. Nah, man, you got to go. You got to go.
Again, if he hadn't displayed, that type of behavior before, he must have been like ratcheting up to that for a while.
I'm just trying to think of anything that would alleviate his culpability. Like if there was anything that happened prior to that morning, like some type of grand event to where his emotional status got significantly compromised.
Maybe maybe they pantsed him.
But I didn't hear anything. Don't touch my drawers again. I didn't hear any of that.
Maybe they put a whoopee cushion in his seat.
But still, you have to have some.
Maybe he bit into a rotten apple.
But I wonder how long he's been teaching, and two, as a teacher, man, you're gonna deal with some difficult.
Oh, I
children.
I know. I was difficult with some teachers.
See, I'm not the one. I'm not the one. I'm not gonna threaten to shoot somebody in the face or whatever. But I'm not the one. I might fight somebody. So that I know my lane. So I'm not gonna be a teacher. I know exactly where I should not be.
You You jack a joker up.
I'm gonna move desk.
Yeah.
I'm be like, all right, come on, let's go, man.
Fight Club.
Straight up. That's why I'm not there. That's why I respect teachers. I respect teachers being able to not put themselves in situations like these. This dude did not, man. He's not mentally prepared to be teaching.
Kevin said, put super glue on the markers and the dry erase board. I'm just trying to come up with things. I was like, what could cause a teacher to do that?
I don't know, man. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy, man. Let's put the phone. You know what? We can't even put the phone number up, man.
Yeah,
we can't
take calls.
Yeah, I will be able to hear you.
We'll be able to hear, but y'all
know,
won't be able to hear. So.
I think it has to do with this desktop audio right here.
There's something that kind of there's something that must have updated with
something changed.
Updated, something changed, and we can't figure out why. And it hasn't been an issue for it has never been an issue. So I don't know.
Let me see. You know what? Let me see if I'm gonna play it from here and see if it works. Do you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
You hear it? But
I hear that.
No, they don't hear it.
Yeah.
I don't think they hear it.
Yeah, no, that's weird.
This desktop audio. This is what we need to worry about. But for some reason, it doesn't work. So yeah. Anyway, we're gonna take care of that by the next broadcast on Thursday. I don't know why it's not working. But anyway, let's see if we got any questions in the chat section, any comments or anything like that.
Tara Bray said do a test call. Why don't you do a test call? How are we gonna do? Why don't you do it? You on the other end, Tara Bray. You do a test call.
Somebody said maybe if a kid assaulted him, I could understand, but that's about it.
That's about it. Yeah. That's probably about it.
But then, would you say I'll shoot you? Would you say? You might get shot and I might be the one to do it? You would just defend yourself. You might punch somebody in their neck or something. You know what I'm saying? That would be about I'm fighting back. There would be no reason for the commentary yo, one day you're gonna get shot. You know who's gonna do it? Might be me. Okay, yeah. You know what? We were gonna talk about that too. Election day. Yeah. Northam won Virginia, so that's a huge get for the Democrats. That would have been a bad look. They already currently had the governorship in Virginia, and so it looks like they're going to be holding on to it with Northam. Of course, we talked about that Virginia race too. Ed Gillespie, that's the dude with the Confederate monument that got the endorsement from Donald Trump. So we talked about him a little bit, but it looked like that race was tightening up. Yeah, I guess it's better that a Democrat won than a Republican, I guess. Whatever.
And you know what? He employed a good strategy because he tied him to Trump. He tied Gillespie to Trump.
He did.
And since I think that's one state where Trump's approval rating is in the 30s.
Yeah. And he lost Virginia too.
So his approval rating. So I was like, I would have used that too.
Yeah. Lulu said Jersey too. What's that dude's name in Jersey? Phil Murphy. Yeah, Phil Murphy must have won Jersey, so he beat Kim Guadagno. Yeah, so they were both projected to win. Now in Jersey, Murphy had I believe a pretty significant lead. He was expected to kill him. But in Virginia, that race was tightening up, so there was some possibility that Gillespie would have came away with the win. But looks like. But you know what? This is actually par for the course, though, because I saw that after a president gets elected, the opposing party, usually wins New Jersey and Virginia.
So you don't want to make too much of this.
Yeah, it's not too much of this because this has been a pattern.
You want to kind of let it marinate a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, look, it would have been a real bad look had the Democrats lost them. It would have been a really bad look, especially going into 2008.
So winning it is just par for the course. Losing it would have definitely.
It would have been devastating.
It's one of those things where they had, I guess, more to lose.
Oh, they had much more to lose had they lost. Trump, of course, now they can. Well, it depends on what the margins were, but if they were close, I'm betting that they still look at it like a semi-win and look like, yeah, well, we're making ground, and look, we're gonna implement our agenda, and come 2018, we're still gonna hold on to the House and the Senate, blah blah blah. Like I said, I don't know what the margins were, so. But yeah, it's better that the Democrats won. Yes, it's better. It's better. Yeah, I hate even saying that. But there were also we're gonna look at some other things that were on the ballots around the country as well. In Maine, voters had the opportunity to bypass the governor Paul LePage, his veto pen, and approve an expansion of Medicaid. So I don't know how that went. There was a similar. Well, no. That was one. But anyway, it would be the first time that a state expanded Medicaid via referendum. So, of course, if they win that, look for more states to try to do the same things. Article I read cited Utah and Alaska as examples. South Carolina didn't expand Medicaid. Maybe South Carolina, I don't know. But we'll have to see how that happened. What happened in Maine as it concerns that. And also in Ohio, what was on the ballot was voters being able to apply the same prices, lower prices for prescription drugs as the Veterans Affairs medical system. So that was on the ballot. And the pharmaceutical industry, they lobbied heavily against this proposal, spending nearly $60 million to defeat it. So I would assume they're probably going to be successful. When you spend that kind of cash, usually it's successful. We saw just last year, election time in Colorado, how the Democrats fought hard and spent so much money trying to kill the plan to institute universal health care, single payer. And they won, of course, because they spent all of that money, outside money as well. So $60 million looks like they're probably going to win that. I hope they don't, but we'll see. But similarly, in California, there was an effort to do that, and it failed. So we'll see what that means in Ohio. Let's see. I don't know. I have to look for them after the broadcast and see if it passed or not. Kevin said Michigan medical weed passed by referendum. Okay.
So that means they have to put it on a ballot. Somebody said they tried to call.
I didn't see anything.
Oh, there they go.
Oh, okay. Can you hear? Hello, you're on the air with LTMB Live. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Taylor, and I'm calling from New Braunfels, Texas.
Hey, Taylor.
What's going on, man?
Now, before you go on, let me check the chat to see if anybody can hear you. I'm not sure if they can or not. Anybody in the that's watching the broadcast, can you tell me if you can hear the caller, Taylor?
Lulu said they can hear. Okay.
Then why in the world?
How in the world can they not hear the video?
Not play. I don't understand. We're gonna have to.
Well,
anyway,
Tay just gave us a successful test. So
yeah.
appreciate
ahead, Taylor.
that.
What's your comment?
All right, I'm glad.
So what you got for us tonight,
All
man?
right.
You always got some good information for us, brother.
Well, I just wanted to say that I knew the shooter, Devin Kelly, back in high school.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
That it. Dang.
So
yeah, because
what? So what?
like
I mean,
in the news, they've been saying.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, because in the news, they've been saying that he's like from New Braunfels, Texas, that he went to school in New Braunfels High School, and he also did karate class too, like at this in New Braunfels, which is called West Haven Academy of Karate, and I knew him during at first I knew him from the karate studio, and then also knew him like once we like got into high school.
Does anything stick out in your memory about your interactions with them? Anything that you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like I always had good interactions with them. I mean, he was just like an acquaintance to me. He like would do stuff like whenever the karate master would do stuff with the students. Like there's like this water park in New Braunfels called Schlitterbahn. So he would like join us in a group of like other people to do stuff, and then eventually I would even like did stuff outside of like karate events where one time me and a bunch of my friends went to see like Batman Begins in the movie theater back in like 2005, and he came and joined my group, and he brought like this girl that was his girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, you seemed like a normal kid, really.
Well, we know how after adolescence, after high school, things can change significantly. You don't recognize people when they, get past high school. We know that.
Yeah. Yeah, because the only thing is, I noticed like during the time when I was in high school, I did hear quite a bit of people saying that they didn't like him. Like, I guess they just thought he was like weird, and apparently like, and then I remember like after he graduated, I would notice like stuff like on his Facebook, like me and him like we're like Facebook friends for the longest time, and then of course I noticed he did really started to change like after high school, where of course where he got married and had the baby, and then also like went into the Air Force, and then also like he also started getting into like hunting deer, where he would like post pictures of him like with the hunting gun, and then like in deer that he shot. So and apparently for the longest time he was an atheist too. And so I mean I think that's the reason why a lot of people thought that's the reason why he decided to like shoot up the church, but really it was because also his ex-wife and stepson that y'all were talking about went to that church, but they weren't there when he went to like do the shooting. But apparently he did shoot his ex-wife. It was either his ex-wife's mom or grandmom.
Yeah, the grandma
that was in the church.
Yeah, the grandma was there. Wow, man. Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks for providing that a little bit of insight in your history, going back to your time as a kid with this guy.
Yeah, and apparently he did have like this other girlfriend, but apparently that I didn't know about. But then I saw like in the news where she said that he kept on like harassing her, where he kept on calling her right after she broke up with him, and then so he was, and of course he did use. Yeah.
So he's obsessive and stuff. And
and
who knows what his experience was in the military.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And he also got fired from working from the water park too. He used to work at the water park as a night guard, but apparently I guess they don't really tell why on the news, but they just thought he was like unqualified for it after a while.
Well, I'm sure more will probably come out about this dude's past, and like I said, if you're saying that you don't really remember too much about him, and that would suggest that he would go this route, I wonder if there was an event that spurred any kind of change.
Yeah, he already kind of it already just looking at his past, he already had kind of a mentality already. So he was already warmed up. Yeah. He was kind of already warmed up. So he was kind of the perfect vessel to carry something like that out. So who knows what finally drove him over. And like you said, there was already some strife between him and like I guess mother-in-law.
Yeah.
And you know, so.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you, Taylor, for calling in.
All right, you're welcome.
All right. Oh, that's a vantage point, isn't it? I mean, somebody actually knew the guy.
Yeah.
I did see that in the news that they were they brought awareness to the fact that he might have been an atheist, or that he was atheist, and I don't know, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way because, you know, I know a lot of people believe that like atheists don't have a moral compass, because like if you don't believe in God, then, you know, how could you have any ethics? How could you have any morals? And that's totally false. Just because you don't believe in a higher power doesn't mean that you're gonna go out there like mistreating people or killing people or don't respect life. That's not comparable. So I didn't read the articles that you know that were highlighting the fact that he was atheist, but I just wonder if people are trying to attribute him executing this heinous act on the fact that he was atheist. You know.
I mean, I haven't really been to a lot of different social media circles to kind of parse through all the conversations and stuff like that. I read a few articles.
These were articles.
That's what I'm saying. I like on whether social media or any articles, I really haven't dived into the comments that much. So I'm pretty sure that it's going on somewhere, but I haven't personally seen it. But you know what I mean. But whatever. I mean,
yeah.
I did watch a little segment on Fox News. I think it was like Ainsley Earhart. I don't know if it was Ducey or I don't know. I don't watch it enough to remember the names, but the way they were discussing it, it was like, oh, it's like they died in the perfect place, a church. I was like, did they just say that? Like, if you're going to die anywhere, die close to the Lord. That's basically what the Ainsley Earhart said. And I was just like, yeah, I know. I couldn't even be mad. I was just like,
there are no silver linings here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's no silver linings here. Yeah, they were in a church. I'm sorry.
That doesn't make it like, you know, I'm not.
No, you're trying.
I'm not looking. You're trying to find some good that's not there.
No, I'm sorry.
I'm not thinking if I lost my family member, I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
At least they were in a church.
Yeah. I think it's just as horrific if they were in a mall or something.
Or or in a club.
Doesn't
or
matter.
in a park.
Yeah.
Or at a park.
Their
or
life
brutally
ended.
At an Applebee's. It wouldn't matter.
You think the people dying were like, oh, thank goodness I'm in church? You think that's one of their last thoughts? Like,
if anything, it's worse. If you're gonna go that route, it seems actually worse.
Yeah, because you would feel probably more
safe, protected.
Yeah, in the church.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Ridiculous, man.
If you're gonna go that route, I would go the other way. But
whatever, man. Of course you would see that on Fox News, though. Man. Yeah, that is horrible. Yeah, Sam, yeah. Atheism provides no basis for violent behavior, whereas Christianity does. Ooh.
I don't think Christianity provides the basis for that such behavior. I think that for violent behavior, I think that it makes that violent behavior more acceptable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it seems that way historically speaking. That's
okay,
more blood has been shed in the name
of Christianity than somebody like, I'm gonna kill all these people because I don't believe in God.
That I don't think that happens. I mean, I can't cite an example
like a non-believer's atheist crusades.
Nah.
That doesn't mean like atheists as individuals are like better or worse, but they're not drawing their a moral compass from their non-belief.
Yeah, like
you know
most of them don't have a war with religion. It's like their own personal feelings. Like, look, I don't believe this. Like, there are some that kind of, I guess, put themselves in that battle and try to, I guess, refute and push back on, you know, this what they would call God nonsense or anything like that.
God delusion.
Yeah, God delusions, this, you know, the Bible, whatever. But I don't see any of them going to war because of it, like trying to kill people that believe.
Nah, dog.
Nah.
I don't. Nah. And then only that, if you're gonna look at the equivalent, they would then, because if you're trying to draw, if you're gonna draw an equivalent with religion, then the non-believers and atheists would have to be at war with other atheists who don't believe like they don't believe. Y'all ain't believing in the right way.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna.
That's true. Because that's like you said.
That's why there's no equivalent
say anymore. Yeah.
That's why there's no equivalent, man.
Yeah. All right.
God is on our side, supposedly, as we bomb other countries. That's true, because the epiphany is that everybody has their own different God, even all Christians. You know what I'm saying? So the God is whatever you feel. However you feel you need to go forth in your life. That's why God always agrees with them, because they are the God. It's in their head.
Yeah, Gene said atheists are very moral people. They just aren't afraid of going to hell after death, just fighting against hell on earth. Yeah.
But Jesus died for your sins, man. Did he say he did? But see, did God really sacrifice his son though? Did really sacrifice his son? Really? Because he supposedly died on Friday and came back on Monday. So really, God just sacrificed the weekend.
You went extra.
I know. I mean, hope moms don't see this. She'll be like, Mikey. Don't say Mikey. Don't make fun of Jesus.
That's a deep conversation, of course. But you know, people have their long-held, you know, feelings about religion. A lot of people believe the Bible is stone. You know, like it's crystallized. It's absolutely true. Other people have a lot of questions. I thought about that like long and deep about kind of how people view like their religion or religious text, and how it kind of plays out in this world. And I just thought it was mighty interesting that, like, when I was coming up, like I wasn't like, we weren't heavy into the church. I got kind of into church later, and all I kept hearing was, you know, from wherever church I went to, it was, I believe in the God that my mother did, my father did. I believe in the God of my great grandparents. So it was like they believed in the same God that, like, was taught to them
by their predecessors. Yeah. So it was like, I just feel it was just weird how I can see a world progress. Like, all areas of our life progress and we see a visual change. Like, I think it's just natural. Progression is just natural. Everything surrounding us changes, and how we see the world. We learn new things. We develop new ways of seeing things based on the increased level of information that's out there, and we make decisions based on that.
But the Bible don't change.
But that's the funny part. I thought you would think that since all these things about who we are have changed and the way we see the world change, you would think the natural progression, if you do believe in, you know, something, that would kind of change too. You know what I'm saying? To me, like, having kids is pointless. Having a new generation is pointless if they're just going to believe in the same thing that you are. Because if you're saying that this what you believe is like represents, I guess the status quo. This is the principle and chief thought. This is what we. The thing is, to me, it makes having a new generation purposeless, because you're saying that this is what they have and this is how they're supposed to believe. They're not supposed to go beyond that.
Well, you're looking at a world of traditionalists in some vein. So, having kids, new generations, they repeat the same things that you said like their predecessors have taught them. Nothing changes. Now, you do have some new school people that are putting their own spin on what they're reading in the Bible and then saying that, no, it actually means this, it actually means this. It's just that there are so many different interpretations. It's like, I mean, there can't just be one right answer. And over the course of my life, you know, I think a lot of people probably go through believing a lot, like, I mean, like having a steadfast belief in God, Jesus, religion, Christianity, and then at some point feeling like, well, hold on, I do have some questions, you know. But it's just at that point, a lot of people go right back to being like, you know, well, hold on, that's a little bit too scary. I don't want to have these questions. You know, I'm gonna believe that's what my family has done. That's what I'm gonna do. No, this makes sense for me. And there's some other people that say, well, hold on, I'm gonna explore these questions, and they get to a place where it doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think like the kind of progression I went to was like, I kind of feel like it's very interesting that people are so steadfast in their belief without having firsthand knowledge of what transpired. Like, and this could be with anything. This does not have to be just with religion. But like, I always talk about like true knowledge. Like, true knowledge is something that you experience through one of your five senses. That's what true knowledge is. If you didn't experience it through one of your five senses, you don't know a damn thing.
It's gonna require a serious level of investigation.
It would.
So, but
anyway,
since I don't see everybody just kind of chatting amongst themselves, not really.
We're gonna go ahead and get out of here, and the next broadcast on Thursday, 7 p.m., we're going to make sure that any video clips that we play, you will be able to hear. I do think it's interesting that you could hear the caller, but not the video.
Because last time y'all couldn't hear the caller, or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, or the video.
Or the video.
Yeah, did we play? Yeah, we played the video.
We played video, and y'all couldn't hear either one of us. So we
fixed one problem, but we didn't fix the other. So, but we'll fix that by Thursday, 7 p.m. Thanks, Taylor, for calling in and telling us about your dealings with the killer.
Yeah, connection with the killer, man.
With Devin
Kelly.
Thank you for everybody that participated in the chat and keeps this thing going every single broadcast. Thank you for everybody that's here watching. We appreciate you so much. I don't got anything else. You got anything else?
No, I don't got much. I don't got anything else to say. Just want to invite everybody over to Facebook after the show. We're gonna do a little after show, probably about 15-20 minutes. Just probably more light conversation. We may even continue this conversation about religion, maybe. Yeah. So
Kevin said it's like playing whack-a-mole with tech issues. That's right, man. You fix one and another one pops up somewhere, man. And I don't know I don't even know how these things sprung up. Like, everything was fine. Many shows we've done, we haven't had
changed
to adjust
anything. Nothing. All
because
of a sudden,
the setting stay there.
All of a sudden,
and then all of a sudden, something happened, and I don't.
Oh yeah. Everybody, who is that? What's that?
Gene?
Gene and somebody else was like, we talking about what y'all talking about. Like, because I said something like they're having their own conversations. They were like, nah, we talking about what y'all talking about.
Thank you, Marsha. Yeah, thanks, Kevin, Tara Bray, Lulu, Jenny, Gene. Thanks to everybody that's been here with us. And we'll be back again on Thursday, 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
And if you want to come over and see us on Facebook for a little while, let me put the I'll put the address in the stream if you don't have a Facebook account. But we'll see you then. Everybody have a good rest of your night and Wednesday, and we'll see you on Thursday.